2,000 years ago, in the hardscrabble agricultural world of the ancient Near East, fertility was everything, and it was believed only the gods could grant it. It was a time before the Bible. A minor clan called the Hebrews was surrounded by many pagan tribes: Canaanites, Ammonites, Philistines. These prayed to a god called Baal for rich harvests, fertile flocks, and many children to work the soil. Their worship of this pagan deity may have included communal sex rites.
They would have sexual relations within the cult, and what you had behind this was sympathetic magic, that an action on a small scale would produce the like effects on a large scale. So by the sexual intercourse within the cult, it was thought that this would produce fertility in the land, in animals, in human beings, and it was all geared to natural religion.
These sex rituals done in the ancient world all stem from the practice of idolatry. Idolatry is a term used to describe the worship of a man-made object or cult image as a god. Ishtar, Baal, and Moloch were just some of the idols ancient Israelites prayed to. To honor the different gods and goddesses, people of ancient Israel created shrine temples. Inside these temples were male and female shrine prostitutes called Kodesh. Worshippers would go into the temples and engage in anal sex acts with the priests and priestesses of the fertility goddess in order to ensure that they would have a fertile life. Every scripture that is used by Christians to persecute homosexuality has a direct reference to idolatry and shrine temple sex. Leviticus 18:22 is the most popular scripture used against homosexuality. Whether you talk to an anti-gay protester on the street or visit a local church in your community, Christians without any hesitation uses the clobber passage of Leviticus. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind, for it is an abomination. The verse may at first appear to be against homosexuality, but when you dig deeper into Scripture, as well as understand the culture of ancient Israelites, you will start to see that Leviticus has been misinterpreted. In the beginning of Leviticus 18, the Lord orders Moses to tell the Israelites to not follow the practices of the Egyptians where they once lived, nor follow the practices of the Canaanites where the Lord was taking them to. So what were the Canaanites practicing? In the Canaanite religion, the people prayed to the god Moloch. He was a fire god made of iron and looked like a bull. The Canaanites believed in sacrificing their children to this false god in order to have a blessed life. Plutarch, an ancient Greek historian, writes, "The whole area before the statue was filled with a loud noise of flutes and drums, so that the cries of wailing children should not reach the ears of the people." The Canaanites also practiced sex rituals, which included male prostitutes. Male shrine prostitutes were common in the Canaanite religion. These sex practices were done to please their false gods, but were detestable in the eyes of the Lord. "And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind, for it is an abomination." It is important to note that in chapter 18, Moses writes from verse 6 all the way till verse 20 of different sexual relations that were not permitted by God. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, on verse 21, he mentions to not sacrifice children to the god Moloch. Why would Moses include something that seems to be off topic of what he's discussing? Why would he then continue to discuss sex practices that were not prohibited after verse 21? The reason is because verse 21 and 22 are in fact related. They are what you would call a cause and effect. Once you had sacrificed your child, in order to be fertile again, you would need to have a sex ritual. And since it was common for the shrine prostitutes to be male, the men would engage in sex with the male prostitutes, thus linking idolatry and sacred prostitution to be both an abomination. Abomination, by definition, is a vile, shameful, or detestable action. The word is thrown around a lot by anti-gay Christians because of Leviticus 18. However, the word derives from multiple Hebrew words. For instance, the Hebrew word sheketz and tova have both been translated as abomination, but they have different meanings. This is why people get confused when they read that eating shellfish and apparently two men having sex is equally vile. Any scriptures that use abomination when dealing with dietary violations was translated from the word sheketz. Here is an example. In Leviticus 11:9-10, it says that, "And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, and all that move in the waters, and any living things which is in the waters, they shall all be an abomination," or sheketz, "unto you." Any scriptures that use abomination when dealing with idolatry, the word tova is used. "And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind, for it is abomination, it is tova." The people of Canaan were committing tova, or praying and honoring idols, by sacrificing their children and having sex with male shrine prostitutes. Here are some other examples where tova is used. In 1 Kings chapter 14, "And they were also sodomites, or male shrine prostitutes in the land. And they did according to all the tova of the nation which the Lord cast them out before the children of Israel." In Ezekiel chapter 7, it says, "They made the images of their abomination," or tova, "and other detestable things therein. Therefore have I set it far from them." And finally, in Deuteronomy chapter 7, it says, "The graven images of their gods shall burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take unto thee. For it is an abomination, it is tova to the Lord thy God." In conclusion, Leviticus is clearly addressing idolatry that was common to the Canaanites. This was never meant to persecute gay people in a loving, committed relationship. Rather, it was meant to warn the Jews that God detested shrine prostitution. It is also important to note that nowhere in Leviticus or other parts of the Bible prohibit same-sex couples.